What's it really all about? It. I woke up this morning with the word in my head. Coquette. I met and chatted with a actually really pretty easy-natured or easy-souled woman in the co-op last evening. It's not about her. But the good thing about talking with her, she didn't mind. I could tell. I actually said, I can tell. You don't mind. In fact, that's how I began speaking with her. Loose end. She was hovering over the meat. And I just said, God, it's so expensive in here. It's evil. I don't like to use the word evil. Right, this has got to be so short and sweet. Because I've only got 3 gigabytes left. Right. I actually said to her, I've broken my rule. Don't have any real conversations with anybody. I have that often as a rule. Anyway, we got chatting. And she had an easy nature. 4 children. I'm not going to say anything about her other than I actually said to her, I said, and I think she understood. The only interesting thing really about anybody is if they're an incongruity. A well-spoken, clearly very intelligent woman. Okay, you could say Prevo, to use Maverick's word, or rather just somebody who's read good books, elevated their mind over their life. I reckon she's about 55, maybe even 60, but and fit. But she works as a cleaner. Anyway, I don't want to say anything about her other than it's really great encountering somebody and having a conversation where they don't mind the words. So I woke up this morning thinking, yeah, coquette. It's just like, you need a partner. Not for some desperate neurotic need, but for the reasons given. I mean, we hear today on Farming Today that the price of fuel in the countryside is 15p on average more. So if you're living not in a city, not in a noisy city, you need a partner. But you need somebody practical. You need somebody who can just be a side in their head of all the little busy disruptions of modern life. And that sounds like something like idyllic. Not at all. I mean, just as an example, I have the last week of the month, because I get my working tax credit top up in a week today, is tough. So I've not got much fuel in the engine. I knew I was going to run the engine for half an hour. So I started, when I wake up, battery low, because I hardly drive anywhere. So get the engine going. Well, get the engine going. A year ago, I did the glow plugs, so it does start very quickly first time. So, as long as it started, there's enough power in the battery, the battery in the engine, to get the engine going. Phones and computer, very low charge. So, run that battery for 10 minutes. And then it's like my second battery, which was down there. I know that's getting very low on charge because I'm running the engine for 10 minutes and I'm running the battery down there for 10 minutes to charge things up a bit. But here's what it's about. What it's about is this. Now, I could have turned the engine off and just said, okay, right, I've got battery, I've charged up phone and battery enough keep going for the morning. The problem around here is there's no churches open to charge anything up. Anyway, let's keep to the point. The point is this. Now, I could have turned the engine off and had half an hour of peace and just looking out, staring, zen, which I like. But if I wanted to start the engine in an hour to charge up the next battery, keep it going, so I've got enough battery for the day, I'm putting, by turning the key, cranking the battery, I'm actually, in quotation marks, wasting some power. Meaning, I don't need, I've got to run the engine for 15 minutes today to keep 2 car batteries just about going enough, so I've got enough between the 2 of them, swapping them over, to charge my phone and laptop. I don't want to go to a library or anything. They're just too depressing. So, rather than do that in 2 sessions of 10 minutes and 5 or 10 minutes, if I do it in 1 session, I'm not wasting that second crank, the crank of the engine, to get the engine going later, an hour later or 5 hours later, so that I can top the battery up. If I do both batteries, because I hot swap them, meaning I take that battery out, swap it with that, with the engine still going, that saves me the crank. Takes out a chunk. When you turn your key, you're cranking the engine. Takes out a chunk from the battery. Now, all you want is somebody practical, at their mind at rest, such that they get that as well. So that if you're living in away from this place is based on London money, as is Hay-on-Wye, as is Prestine, as increasingly is Knighton. If you're living, and this is like not some fringe thing, if you're living aside, you don't want to live by the big cities, which are full of people dealing in fucking Viagra, and it's all gone so steroids, Viagra. Sad old women, because they know that half the men are pumped up on fucking whatever, because that's the reality. So if you're living aside of that, you've got 2 choices. Either you live in somewhere so aside, all you ever meet is dinosaurs. In other words, you can't have a conversation. You just can't. Or you've got to live somewhere halfway, like somewhere like the Marches, somewhere like here. You might meet the odd person to have the occasional good conversation with. But I'm afraid to say those regions have been totally taken over by the coquettes. You don't want to say that, but that's the reality. And a coquette ain't gonna think like that. That is, because you see, I've met 1 or 2 over the last 15 years, Sally, the main one, who prove it doesn't have to be like that. So if you're saying, or even thinking, coquette, it's not to insult, it's to actually, it's like, I've known, 1 or 2 of you ladies who are dead practical. Sally would get what I have said about this. You've got to garner your more limited resources. If you're not living on London money, you're living on London money. If you live around Hay-on-Wye, you're living on London money. Even if you've got a job in the co-op in Hay-on-Wye, you're actually, that co-op expanded because of London money. So if you want to be aside, not so much living on London money, or South East or Bristol, which is all international, and Britain is the spiv capital of the world of dodgy corporations. It's well known we're as dodgy as the Caymans. So if you try and live aside of London money, you've got to garner your resources. It's as simple as that. And I enjoy it. Sally Sally Pierce 15 years ago. She would enjoy it. You'd meet a few, so rare. They enjoy it. It like brightens their eyes up. I can live well, but without corrupting my own soul, and I've got to be thoughtful of how to garner my resources. That's my life for 15 years, and I never meet anybody, or it's incredibly rare, I meet anybody who can just be at peace, at ease, and thinking of things like that. That's it.